Hey guys, CDTVProductions here, and today in Best Verses, we will be doing one of the most requested episodes since I started this series, Denzel Curry. Denzel is easily in my top 3 right now, so this is one I've been excited to do for a while. For this video, I've decided to be cute and split it into a 3-act structure, just like Denzel did with his Taboo album. And these 3 acts are going to be introspection, brutality, and aggression. It wasn't really intentional, but when I narrowed it down to my favourite verses, I noticed that they could be split into categories like that, so why not? So with that being said, this is CDTV, and let's take a look at Denzel Curry's best verses.
If tomorrow's not here, I write down all of my worst fears. Fear of loss, fear of change, fear of losing my peers. Apparently, I will watch the whole world collapse in the peer.
I knew you wasn't normal ever since the age of 9. I heard you were molested when you hit the age of 5. So innocence, I sense that all your innocence had died.
This is a beautiful sounding track, but that doesn't mean it shies away from tackling serious and dark subject matter. Quite the opposite actually, as it talks about molestation, and how this is something that can mess a person up for their entire life. We really get to see Denzel's more sensitive side here, and it becomes a million times more impactful and sad after Denzel's recent reveal that he himself was molested at a young age.
You got molested when you was 8?
Yep.
You know, I'm gonna be real, I did get molested when I was young.
So he's essentially speaking from his own experience here. Denzel also said on Twitter that the person he refers to as Taboo was himself the whole time, and it just adds a whole other layer and dimension to this song on top of its already powerful subject matter.
With the good girl going bad girl who went gay cause of date rape, that's a metaphor for the US cause they got us all in the same state of mind, brain is minimized, put me on the news, only criticize, revolution will never be televised, for the enemy that never empathize.
Every rapper pretty much has at least one verse detailing their thoughts on Trump and American politics, and that was the subject Curry tackled on here. He starts off with a strong stance straight from the jump, comparing the relationship between minorities and America itself to a girl who has changed her sexuality due to being date raped. It's something you might hear and not analyze too much, but it really is a smart metaphor that you can look into and pick apart, talking about how minorities feel they can only be comfortable with each other due to their mistreatment from everyone else. On top of this, he covers other topics such as police brutality and the way that the media can influence the public to see things in a certain way. The verse is definitely heartfelt from Denzel, and you can hear his anger at these issues just building up as the verse progresses. He tackled the issue really well, and it makes for one of the strongest tracks on the Taboo album.
In my room, staring and tripping, look at the TV as adult swim. Dripping the lick from the LSD, lucid, I'm dreaming on broader perspectives. Cheaping forever, smoked out with Sierra, right on 37, the hottest of weathers.
The concept of this song is Denzel, while under the influence of LSD, reflecting on his life and the losses he has experienced throughout it. That pretty much tells you everything you should expect from this. It's a weird, drugged out, trippy sounding track, and Denzel's lyrics are harrowing as ever. He recalls all the violence that went on in Carol City where he grew up, whether it affected him, his friends, or other people that lived there. It was always a part of his life. You can tell it's something that he thinks about a lot. I mean, I can imagine it would be hard not to, and the psychedelics can only make those images even more vivid, and he describes all his thoughts and visions perfectly.
Slide for the free, kill for the fee. Pull out the stick, then I pull out the ski. Put a motherfucking face on the white tee, that's what a nigga get being P. It's real in the field, either kill or be killed like BG, so it got a grip on the set. So my nigga China man took my nigga PJ and Trayvon, hot damn, who next on the white tee? Born and raised on the zone 3, black land right by the 199.
N64 is probably the project you want to check out if you want to hear Denzel talking about the gritty reality of the area he grew up in, and this track highlights that perfectly. The previous verse on this list touched on the violence that Denzel was surrounded by, and this verse dives into every gritty detail about that environment. He talks about things such as the issues with police in his area, the multiple people from there who have lost their lives due to gun crime, and the violence that goes on between rival gangs. It's a crazy look into the brutally violent area where Denzel lived, and he does not hold back or sugarcoat anything when telling us about it.
Damn, I'm really losing my mind. Or should I end it all just by grabbing a 9? But it's too easy. Demons on my mind leave me. Put me into isolation so you wouldn't see me. Free me from misery and uneasy pain. Emotion from the grip I gained.
Now the previous verse was here because it's gritty and realistic, but this one is here because of the very dark and twisted imagery that Denzel paints with his words. It's similar to Void in the way that it seems very drug-fueled and psychedelic, but this verse has a much more haunting vibe to it than that song, with some grim lyrics such as these. This verse really gives off an image of him just going insane, and this grim sound is enhanced by the looming production. It's a hard track, but it's definitely unsettling as well.
I can be with the shits when I'm nervous, it's dangerous. If the police pull up, then I'll tell them I'm innocent. They tried to run down on us, squad out the club, then I am to get lords of the dark and violent. Just it up on the pavement quiet. This is the reason why niggas divided.
Oh, this verse. Both verses in this song tell the same story from a different perspective, with that story being a gang of poorer people setting up a man in their hood who got rich and flashes his wealth to be robbed and killed so that they can take his money. The first verse is about the less wealthy man trying to find the rich man to rob him, and the second one is from the rich man's perspective, describing his paranoia at knowing there's people out to get him and his willingness to kill to protect himself. It's definitely something you need to listen to really get the full effect of the story. And this story sends across a pretty powerful message. It shows how money doesn't change the kill or be killed mentality for some people if that's all they knew when they were younger. Even though the people trying to kill the rich man are in a completely different financial situation, their mind states are still basically parallel to each other. And Denzel shows this by mirroring certain lines and flows between each verse. It's fantastic storytelling.
And it's the Federation, I'm the overlord, dressing all black and I'm ballin' no Voldemort. None of the sorcery could penetrate my force field. Lord, willing imperialism, pistol popping on the crackers on the 183rd Street Mall. Now the crackers wanna see a nigga fall.
So as you can tell, most of the verses in this video I've chosen for their content and the things they speak about, but this one I chose purely because I think it sounds pretty unique. I can't think of another Denzel verse that sounds like this. His voice is heavily layered in autotune despite the fact that he isn't really using a melodic style on here, and I wasn't expecting him to use it on a verse where he was straight up rapping over this eerie production. And as it is Denzel, I shouldn't have to mention this, but the flow is ice cold on this verse. It does sound kind of weird, but I personally think it's weird in a very appealing way. Many rappers have given their thoughts on the current state of rap and all the clout chasing and stuff like that goes on within it, and that's the issue Denzel addresses here. He mentions specific things such as rappers who blew up whilst in jail, rappers with face tats, and how standard their music is, while stating that these are things he doesn't need to do to be noticed. He also makes it clear that even though his observations seem kind of aggressive on this track, he's not hating on rappers that do things like that or have that type of image. I'm pretty sure he even has close friends that do those exact same things in the rap game. But he's simply stating what he doesn't do and that he's different to your typical mainstream rapper. Curry makes it clear on this track that he is and forever will be true to himself, and that's always respectable. And we'll end it with one of Denzel's most recognised verses. Whether you think this song suffered from overexposure or not, you can't deny that the second verse is intense as hell. That aggression mixed with Denzel's unrelenting flow makes it one of his most explosive verses, and no amount of I Am The One memes can take away from that. Oh, and just look at the Check the Rhyme video by Genius on this to see the density of Denzel's rhymes on here. It's an impressively written verse on top of it being so raw. This track landed Curry his first gold plaque from the RIAA, and I'm sure that's going to be the first of many. Whether you liked the memes around Ultimate or not, it gave a lot of exposure to Denzel's music, and really that can never be a bad thing. Well guys, that is going to be it for the video today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and let me know down in the comments below what your own personal list of Denzel Curry's best verses would look like. Also remember to follow me on Twitter, as I'm really trying to hit 10k on there soon, before the end of the year specifically. That's all I got to say. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the little 3-act structure I put in this video, just to make it a little bit different from the other best verses videos. This is CDTV Productions, signing out.